Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the session. I hope you all can hear me. Just give me a minute, guys. Okay, just give me a minute. To our pro learners, I've sent the invite, guys. Please join. Okay, I'm sending the invite again. Just give me a minute. Thank you. Okay. Yes, the topic for today is the superlative degree. Yesterday we did the positive and so the base form of the adjectives and the comparative degree. Today we'll look at the superlative degree. Okay, or adjectives. So let's start with the first slide. Okay, a minute. See any new names? Anjali, can you hear me? Anjali, can you hear me? Okay, Tarup, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, read the first slide.
Yes, sir. In the last lesson, we learned that we use comparative adjective to compare two things. Example, Samsung devices are easier to use than Micromax devices. A superlative adjective expresses the extreme or highest degree of a quality. We use a superlative adjective to describe the extreme quality of one thing in a group of things. Example, Samsung devices are the easiest to use. We use a superlative adjective to describe one thing in a group of three or more things. Look at these examples. Canada, China, and Russia are big countries, but Russia is the biggest. Mount Everest is the highest mountain in the world.
Good. Thank you. Yes, so here we are talking about the superlative degree. So obviously superlative degree is when one thing stands out compared to all other things, regardless of whatever groups you are referring to. So let's say if one person or if one thing stands out and you are not comparing just two people or two things, but it's a group more than two, then you can use the superlative degree when, like the examples given here, Canada, China, and Russia are big countries, but Russia is the biggest. So obviously, here big and biggest. So big is the base form of the adjective, biggest is the superlative form. There is a comparison among all three, right? Between all three countries. So, however, here the second sentence clearly indicates that the biggest compared to the rest of them. Mount Everest is the highest mountain in the world. If basically here again, higher, highest. So three forms. Okay. First example given here was in terms of the comparative degree, and the second example here, Samsung devices are easier, easier, easiest. So easiest, the superlative. Okay. In the first sentence, you're comparing only the Samsung and Micromax devices. The moment I declare that Samsung devices are the easiest to use means I'm comparing Samsung devices to all other devices in its competition, basically. Okay. All right. Thank you. Z, go ahead. Please continue.
Yes, sir. Formation of superlative adjectives. As with comparative adjectives, there are two ways to form a superlative adjectives. First, short adjectives add
Short adjectives.
short adjectives add est. Long adjectives use most. Remember, we usually add the at the beginning.
Okay. So here, yes, as with the comparatives, the two forms, yesterday we discussed this, where we discussed about the short and the long adjectives. The short adjectives, one syllable, two syllables, long adjectives, more than two syllables. Okay. You add est, you get, and the long adjectives, you add most. So most is the more than two syllables that we are referring to. Okay. Irregular ones. Okay. Where you cannot add IER or EST to make it comparative and superlative. You'll need to use more and most. More for comparison, most for superlative. Okay. Like for example, beautiful, you can't add ER, EST, you say more beautiful, most beautiful. Okay. Expensive, more expensive, most expensive. Okay. What is the comparative of the adjective far, FAR? Comparative and superlative both. Sorry?
Yes, sir.
Forest.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Good afternoon.
For
Further, furthest is one of them. What is the other one?
or further. Yes, sir.
Far, further, furthest. Yes. And the other, there are two.
Farther, farthest.
Yeah, that's correct. Father and farthest. That's correct. That the spelling of father and farther is obviously different here. It's FARTHER, farther. Okay. So father, farthest. Okay. Good. Similarly, when you talk about the word less, what is the comparative and superlative of less?
Less, lesser, least.
Sir, less, least.
Yes, correct. That's correct. Less. What is the I think someone else mentioned something.
Sir, lowest, least.
Now I'm talking about less. LES.
Sir, less, lesser, least.
Lesser, less, least.
No word like lesser. What actually okay. Less cannot
Sir,
be the base form, right? What is the base form? Think, guys. When you say
Sir,
less, you are comparing.
Sir, little less, least.
Yes, exactly. So that's why I asked it the other way around. But the moment you say less than that means what? You're comparing. So less is actually a comparative. Least is the superlative. Okay, remember that. So it's not less, lesser, least. It's little, less, least. Those are the three forms. Okay, little, less, least. You're talking about the amount here in this case. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, lie, LIE, superlative degree of lie, LIE.
Lie is a verb.
Adjective, ma'am, sir.
I am not sure what LIE, lie, jhoot bolna, or to lie in a horizontal position. I am talking that is used as a verb, not as a adjective. Lie down, for example. Baith jao, yeah, lie down, sleep, lie down, or to lie, basically, jhoot bolna. So that's either can be used as a noun or as a verb, not as an adjective. Got it? Live, yes, live, lively, yes, lively, you can use lively, liveliest, lively, livelier, liveliest. These are the three forms. You can use that. But live, the word that you gave me is used as a verb or a noun, depending on what you use. Okay.
Out,
Sir, less, sir,
uttermost,
LAY.
sir.
Just a minute. Yeah, Abhay, sorry, what were you asking?
LAY, less, sir.
Lay is the same thing. Lay is the past form. Lie, the past tense of lie, L-I-E, is lay. He lay for a while, means kuch der tak leta tha. And the past participle is lain, L-A-I-N. So you are talking about the verbs. We are discussing the adjectives.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sorry, someone was asking something.
Sir, out, uttermost, yeah, outer.
What is the
Out.
word? I didn't hear your word clearly. Sorry. Out,
Out.
not at home. Yeah. You tell me what do you think should be the comparative of out?
Comparative is utter, outer.
Yes. And what should be the superlative?
Superlative. Outermost.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Outermost. Yes. But here in this case, you see outer portion. But again, outer portion, you don't have there is no, the comparative is outer. Yes. So outermost is the correct form. Yes. But generally, in terms of comparative, yeah, you can use that. This is the outer portion of the house. Yeah, that's fine. You can say that. Okay. And this is the outermost portion of the house or whatever. So yes, outer, and outermost. You're right. Those are the three forms of the adjective. That's correct. You're right. Yes. Out, outer, outermost. Yeah. Outer can be compared with, this is the inner one. That is the outer one. This is the innermost one. And that is the outermost one. So yeah,
Yes,
you can say that.
innermost is outermost.
Yes. I gave you the opposites basically. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Pratap, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Read the next slide.
Rules for creating superlative, creating superlative adjective.
You are not
Single
Karthik,
single syllable words.
just a minute, guys. 1 minute. Pratap, 1 minute. Karthik.
I want to know.
Yes. What happened, Karthik? There's a lot of disturbance from
you
your
are
end.
not visible to me. Can anyone see you?
Just disconnect and reconnect. The network must have been an issue. Guys, the others can see me, right? See me and hear me, right?
No, sir. You are not. You were not. No. I kept my side. No, you are not visible to me.
That's what I'm saying. Just disconnect and reconnect. Guys, others can see me, right?
Yes, sir. It's visible, sir.
Okay,
Screen
thank you.
and your
Yeah,
picture.
thank you. Yeah, Pratap, go ahead. Please continue.
For single syllabic words, add each to the word. Example, strong to.
इस तरह के वर्ड्स जब भी आप पढ़ते हैं add east, तो उसको east मत पढ़िए, add est पढ़िए, add est to the word.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Strongs. Remember that it is sometimes necessary to double the final
Consonant.
consonant. Typically, if the word
Typically,
if the word is a single syllabic words ending with consonant sounds, double the last consonant. Example, big to biggest. Second, single syllabic words ending with an e, only add st. Example, fine to finished, of rare to rarest. Third, double syllabic words ending with y, change the y to n, I and add ist, e. Example, carry to carriest and silly to silliest. Fourth, to their syllabic words use most of least. Example include most, describable,
Desirable.
desirable, and least expensive.
जो दो वर्ड्स पढ़े आपने गलत पढ़े, crazy, craziest, silly, silliest. Okay.
अच्छा अच्छा, silly or silliest.
Yes, crazy, craziest, silly, silliest. Yes. So yesterday, this is something that we discussed yesterday. So I'm not going to spend much time on this. It's simple. Basically,
Okay.
if the word ends with, if the word is a single syllable word and it ends with any consonant here, you simply double the consonant. So big becomes bigger, big, bigger, biggest. Okay. If the word ends with, if the word already ends with the two double consonants like tall, small, okay, you don't need to obviously double it because it's already there. So small, smaller, smallest, tall, taller, tallest. But here in this case, it's just a single, you double the consonant. And when you're talking about the single syllabic words that end with E is what? E is a vowel, right? So here in this case, you simply add ER and EST. So fine, finer, finest, rare, rarer, rarest. Okay. The double syllabic words ending in Y, you simply change it to I and add EST. Crazy, you remove Y, add I, ER, crazier, craziest. Silly, sillier, silliest. Okay. 2 and 3 syllabic words. Most of them 3 syllabic, but sometimes there are 2 syllabic words which you'll need to use most and more. Okay. So here in this case, the examples are desirable. Okay, desirable. How many syllables in the word desirable? Like how many syllables in the word desirable?
2, sir.
Think. Read the word before you give an answer. Read the word.
Three syllables.
Desirable.
Cannot change 2, 3,
syllables.
4. It'll be either one of those. How many?
Desirable.
Three.
Three
3 is
eyes.
not right. 3 is not right. You cannot guess. Give me a proper answer. Don't do guesswork.
Desirable, sir.
Yeah, very good. So how many syllables?
4, sir.
4.
4, sir.
Correct. Four syllables. Break the word, guys. It's simple. It's very simple.
First I said 4 only, sir, but you said no.
But
Someone
sir,
else.
able is a one sound, no, sir?
No, it's different sound. It's a different sound. There are 2, 3 people talking at the same time. So I don't know who said 4, who said 3. First, someone said 2. So desirable. That's how you pronounce the word. Desirable. So A is a different stress of syllable. That's why it's a four syllable word. Okay. Desirable. You can see from the sound there are 4 sounds that you make. You don't make 3 sounds. Okay. Let me ask you one more. What about the word unreasonable? How many syllables in the word unreasonable?
Sir, 5.
5. It's correct. Reasonable is 4, unreasonable 5. And when you add un, it becomes another syllable. So 5 syllables. Okay. All right. So reasonable again is one of those words where you need to use most and more. Okay. He is more reasonable. This sounds more reasonable than that proposal. This is the most reasonable. He's the most reasonable person I've ever met. Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's continue. Anjali, can you hear me? Anjali, you are on mute. If अगर आप सुन सकते हो, just unmute.
सुन रही हूँ सर.
Okay, yeah. Please read the next slide, page 4.
With
थोड़ा जोर से पढ़िए ताकि सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है.
ये कैसे करने का? With some 2 syllable adjectives, we can use both EST or MOST most. Example, quite, the quietest, most quiet. Clever, the cleverest, most clever. Common, the commonest, most common.
Yes, the reason for this is simply because, there is a, here in this case, in itself, here there is something which we call as, there is a clarity given, the words are pretty clear in terms of what they mean. So there's kind of completion. So when I say the quiet, most quiet, the clever, cleverest, I would still prefer to use the whenever possible, I would still prefer to use the basic form, which is ER and EST. So if someone asks me, he's more clever, rather than saying he's cleverer, I would prefer to use cleverer and cleverest. Okay, but you can still use most clever, cleverer. This kind of, to an extent, shows an absolute degree, show absolute degree of something. So that's why you can use both in this case. But I would still prefer to use the comparative and the superlative whenever possible to indicate. So rather than saying, this part of town is more quiet, I would still say is quieter than the other town. I would still prefer to use quite, quieter, quietest, and clever, cleverer, cleverest. Common, commoner, commonest is what I would prefer. But the reason is because these are common words that can, also that show absolute degree as well. That's why you can use more and most for these kind of these kind of 2-syllable adjectives. Okay, the choice is yours. You can prefer to choose whatever you want, whatever you're comfortable with in terms of the given context and sentence. Okay, all right, let's continue. Meera, go ahead, read the next slide.
Yes, sir. When we compare one thing with itself, we do not use the example. England is the coldest country in the world. England is being compared to other countries. Hence, the has been added before coldest. However, England is coldest in winter, not the coldest, because here England is being compared to itself. My boss is most generous when we get a big order, not the most generous, because here we are comparing the boss behavior when he gets a big order with his behavior in other situations.
Good, thank you. Some of the other words that I was referring to, those words where you can use the comparative form and the, where you can use more and most as well. Those are words like, there was one here, I think clever was given, cleverest, then more clever. The other words could be like friendly. Okay, friendly, friendlier, friendliest is fine, but you will also come across people using he's more friendly than me. That is fine, but as I mentioned, again, the choice is yours. You can use it, because friendly, how many syllables in the word friendly?
Sir, 2, sir.
2. Yeah, that's correct. So those are 2-syllable words where you can use the comparative superlative in terms of the rule, or you can use more and most as well. Okay. All right. The other words, cruel, like for example, cruel is a word where crueler and cruelest he's the cruelest king to have ever ruled. There you can also use more cruel, most cruel. You must have come across that word, is most cruel person I've ever met. So those are the words. Again, you can use both the EREST and more and most, both. Okay. All right. So in this particular slide on.
Sir, cruel, compared to what, sir? Cruel.
I didn't understand your question.
Cruel.
Crueler.
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 It's
Yeah.
very
Crueler.
Very difficult
that's
to pronounce.
That's why people use more cruel and most cruel, because cruel itself again is kind of an absolute degree where you know what you're referring to. So here, when you say cruel, you know that the person is already bad. You see, that's why these are words which are kind of absolute degree. When you say someone is friendly, means you understand that, the person is good natured and the person is friendly. When you say someone is clever, you are already indicating a certain level of intelligence in a person. Similarly, when you say cruel, you are already indicating a certain, degree of cruelty in a person. So that's why these are kind of, you can call them a bit of absolute sense. So that's why you can use both the forms. And that's why even with words like, clever, friendly, cruel, you'll hear more of more and most. Common, more common, most common. Okay, this is the most common book on whatever theory. So that's why largely people use more and most for these kind of words, because the base form of comparative and superlative is not very common. That's why. Crueler, it's a little difficult to pronounce as well. Cruel, crueler, cruelest. The simple way to say this is more cruel, most cruel. Okay, that's why. All right, so here, this particular slide, we compare one thing with itself. We do not use the, So here, okay, Meera, you just read it, right? So read the sentence once again. Can you read the two sentences? England is?
Yes, sir. England is the coldest country in the world. England is being compared to other countries, hence the has been added before coldest.
Yeah, that's fine. And then the second sentence says, however, England is coldest in winter. So फर्क ये है कि first sentence में, पहले sentence में आपने
World
जो है
से
इंग्लैंड
compare
को
किया.
इंग्लैंड को कंपेयर किया है सभी कंट्रीज के साथ. But in the second sentence, you are comparing what?
In second sentence, sir, England is coldest in winter.
What are you comparing with?
Itself है sir, itself, खुद से sir.
क्या किस चीज से कंपेयर कर रहे हैं? Temperature. Basically, you are comparing
Temperature, yes.
the weather, the temperature in the weather in England throughout the year. So actually, in essence, you are comparing the different months of the different seasons. Actually, you are comparing the seasons. Okay. The reason is because England, the places in Europe, North, etc. Some of the places, some of the countries, European countries, they are very cold in summers. The summers are very cold as well. So here, because you are comparing different seasons of only one country, which is England in this case, you are comparing England with itself in terms of its seasons. So whether England is coldest in winter, autumn, summer, England is coldest in winter. So that's why your comparison is with itself. So here in this case, you don't use the when you are using the second one. So not the coldest. You don't say England is the coldest in winter. Not needed. England is coldest in winter. मतलब England जो है सर्दी के टाइम में सबसे ज्यादा ठंडी होती है इंग्लैंड में. किस सीजन में? विंटर में. That's the meaning. My boss is the most generous when we get a big order. Is most generous. Not the most generous. If you want to use the most generous, you can say he is the most generous boss I've ever had, or my boss is the most generous man in the organization. When I say that my boss is the most generous man in the organization or person in the organization, I am comparing my boss with all other supervisors, superiors in the organization. But I'm not comparing this. The meaning of the sentence is, my boss is most generous when we get an order. Otherwise, we don't know. Otherwise, maybe he's not very generous. Otherwise, maybe he's just neutral. But here, unka boss ka jo nature hai, he becomes extremely generous when we get a new order, when we get a new project, whatever. Okay. So here you are comparing what in this sentence? My boss is the most generous when we get a big order. What are you comparing? What are you comparing, guys, in this sentence?
Behavior.
Sir, which sentence, sir?
Behavior. The second one. My boss is the most generous when we get you all are right. You are comparing the boss's behavior generally in all situations compared to when we get a big order. So you're comparing the boss's behavior with his own behavior, basically. Boss's own behavior is compared here in different situations, let's say. So generally, he might not be very generous, but when we get a new order, big order, he becomes very generous. Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's continue with Deepika. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Read the slide.
There are some adjectives. There are some adjectives
There are
some adjectives that have irregular forms, meaning that
the superlatives
can't be formed by adding the suffix.
Suffix. Prefix. Word के पहले, suffix. Word के बाद. So suffix.
Suffix. Good, the best. Little, the least. Bad, the worst. Far, the further. and the farthest.
Yeah, very good. That's correct. Yes, absolutely right here in this case. Good, better, best. Okay, so you can't obviously here in this case you can't use those forms. So good, better, best, bad, worse, worst. We've discussed that. So far, further, furthest. The first question I asked, and the one that I asked earlier today, less. So little, less, least. Okay. Yes, if you want to show absolute degree, you want to indicate the most superlative. You can say the least, the best. He's the best man for this job. That's fine. He's best man or he's the best man. It's fine in order to emphasize on the fact that someone is the best to do something, someone is the worst, or this is the least we can do. You can add the to indicate or just to emphasize on the superlative degree. Okay. All right. Deepika, go ahead, answer the next one, the first one. Pick the correct option.
First one is that
Read the sentence.
he is the best scorer,
Soccer player.
soccer player in England.
He's the best soccer player in England. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Ajmol, go ahead, read the next one.
Okay, sir. Yes, the first one is red. Filling is the worst thing.
Again. Falling likha hai. Read it again.
Sorry, sir. Falling is the worst thing that
Worst.
could ever happen. Worst, sir.
Yeah. Read it again. Falling is the worst thing.
Falling is the worst thing that could ever happen to a sprinter.
Sprinter, yes, the person who sprints, the people who participate in athletics, track and field. So falling is the worst thing that could ever happen to a sprinter. Yes, because the fall for a sprinter can be extremely damaging and cause serious injuries. Yeah.
What is the meaning of sprinter?
Sprinter jo bhagta hai, Usain Bolt, 100 meters.
Okay.
The person who
Okay.
takes part in track and field events, sprinter. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Person who runs. Okay. All right. You, Dipali, go ahead. Read the next one.
The second one, for me, he is the fastest man in the world.
Yeah, I just gave an example of Usain Bolt, and here we have a sentence here. For me, he is the fastest man in the world. Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. Yeah. The other Dipali, go ahead. Read the next one.
Second version, your son is the cleverest.
Slow padhiye. Go again. Cleverest likha hai. Cleverest.
Your son is the cleverest kind I have ever
met. Read it again. Slowly. Your son is the cleverest kid I have ever met. Read it again. Read it again.
Your son is the cleverest kind
Kid.
I have ever met.
Kid लिखा है. आप क्यों kind पढ़ रहे हो? Kid लिखा है.
Yes, sir.
Kid लिखा है. KID. Kid. बच्चा.
Your
Kid.
son is the cleverest kind I have ever met.
It's kid. Dipali, it's kid, not kind. Kid. Okay. बच्चे की बात कर रहा है. Your son is the cleverest kid I have ever met. Not kind. Cleverest kind you can use in another sentence, but here it's kid. Okay. All right. Harmeet, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Read the next slide.
Don't you think it's the most valuable present you have ever received?
Very good. Don't you think it's the most valuable present you've ever received? Here, obviously, it's valuable, more valuable, and most valuable. You don't have the basic forms of comparison and superlative. So more and most is the right form. Well done. Don't you think it's the most valuable present you've ever received? Okay. Abhay, go ahead. Read the next one. Abhay, you're on mute. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is said to be the trickiest cube in England.
It is said to be the trickiest.
The trickiest.
Yeah, trickiest.
cube in England.
Quiz.
Cube.
फिर से पढ़िए पूरा sentence.
it is said to be the
Trickiest.
trickiest cube in England.
आप जो पढ़ रहे हो cues नहीं, cues is CUES. This is quiz. This it is said to be the trickiest quiz in England. सबसे tricky, सबसे challenging quiz जो है England में वो ये है. Okay, so yes, tricky, trickier, trickiest. So the trickiest, that's fine. When you're talking about superlative, you can use the article in this case. So it is said to be the trickiest quiz in England. He is the fastest man on earth. So again, you can use the when you're referring to superlative degrees. Okay, Aryan, go ahead, read the next one.
Lily is happiest when she has a holiday.
Very good, very good. Why not the first one, Aryan?
सर क्योंकि वो फर्स्ट पर्सन है क्योंकि उसमें वो
किसके साथ कंपेयर कर रहे हो आप? What are you comparing with? Who are you comparing with? You are comparing Lily with her own self, basically. That's
Yes,
why the
sir.
second one, you don't use the in this case. You can say Lily is the happiest when she is the happiest person. Let's say Lily is the happiest person I've ever met. Okay, that's fine because then you're comparing Lily with all other people you've met. Lily is the happiest person in the family. Means unke family mein she is the happiest. So compared to all other members in the family. But here, you're not comparing Lily with anyone. You're comparing Lily with herself. In terms of what? In terms of her state of mind or her state of being, in terms of different situations. So Lily is generally happy. Possible, yes. Lily is generally a very happy person. However, she is the happiest when she has a holiday. So जब वो holiday पर जाती है, तब वो सबसे ज़्यादा खुश होती है. That's when you are comparing Lily with herself in terms of the different situations. So holiday for her is the best thing that could ever happen. That's why she is the happiest. She is happiest when she's on a holiday. Okay, good. So the correct answer is obviously the second one. Bipul, can you hear me? Bipul, you're on mute. I'm unable to hear you. Yeah, come back to you. Karthik, go ahead, read the next one.
Sir, second one, sir. She has always been the most efficient of all my secretaries.
She's always been the most efficient of all my secretaries. Okay, yes, absolutely right. Thank you. Deepak, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, read the next one. Superlative.
He lives the farthest out of all of us.
सबसे ज्यादा दूर वो रहता है हम पूरे ग्रुप में सबसे ज्यादा दूर वो रहता है. Okay, all right. Q. Krishna, go ahead, read the next one.
Which is the supermarket?
Louder, Krishna, I'm not able to hear you.
Yes, sir. Which of the three supermarkets do you think has the widest range of products?
Absolutely. Which of the three supermarkets do you think has the widest range of products? Wide, wider, widest. Okay, good. Pratap, go ahead, read the next one. Pratap, go ahead, read the next one.
I choose this car as my favorite because it's the fastest of all the one I have driven.
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 जो आप word pronounce करते हो as, it is not as is as. Okay, so I chose. This is not choose. This is chose. I chose this car in the past. I chose this car as my favorite because it's the fastest of all the ones I have driven. Okay, I have driven. All right. Okay. Thank you. Tarup, go ahead. Read the next one.
Yes, sir. She wake up the earliest
Wakes.
in the family.
Start again. Wakes.
She wakes up the earliest in her family.
Very good. She wakes up the earliest in her family. Absolutely right. Okay. Anjali, go ahead. Read the next one.
Which juice is the most delicious? Apple, orange, or
Raspberry. Raspberry.
raspberry?
Yeah, raspberry, the pink color one. Yes. Z, go ahead. Read the next one.
The book is the most serious one on the topic of female infanticide.
Infanticide. Read it again.
This book is the most serious one of the topic of female infanticide.
Infanticide. Padha maine.
Side. Infanticide.
What is the meaning of infanticide? Female infanticide?
I don't know, sir.
Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Exactly. Exactly. Correct. Yes.
Sir,
Crime of killing, the crime of killing a child within a year of a birth. Okay. A person who kills an infant, especially their own child, but female infanticide specifically because we know in India, there's been a problem where unfortunately, if a girl is born in a family, girl is sometimes, unfortunately killed. That's a serious offense, serious crime. And unfortunately, we have numbers which are kind of startling, which are a bit shocking. So yes, the speaker is indicating that this book is the most serious one, meaning it has the most detailed stats and information on the topic of female infanticide. Female infanticide here, it would mean killing of a girl child, especially within a, immediately after the child is born.
We can say bhroon hatya, sir.
Yeah, that's correct. That is the one. Yes. Bal hatya, bhroon hatya is the same word. Infanticide. Okay. Okay. Meera, go ahead. Read the next one.
That suitcase is the lightest. That suitcase is. Sir, second one. Sir, that suitcase is lightest.
Very good. That suitcase is lightest. Here you're not comparing the suitcase with any other. So that's why that suitcase is lightest. Yes, absolutely right. Okay. You're comparing all the suitcases, the weight of the suitcases with, the weight of the other. So here in this case, the speaker is intending to say that among all the suitcases, that one weighs the lightest, is lightest. Okay. Good. Rupa, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Read the next one. Pick the correct option.
I wake up earliest on Monday as I have yoga classes.
Very good. I wake up earliest. You're comparing your sleeping or your patterns with yourself, basically. So here there is no comparison with anyone else. It's a comparison in terms of when you wake up throughout the week, basically during the course of the week. So I wake up earliest on Mondays as I have yoga classes. Okay. Anyone who selected the first one, read the sentence again. Here, the is not needed, the earliest. Because you're not comparing, with anyone else. You're comparing yourself here in this case. So I wake up earliest. I wake up, let's say, at 9 a.m. every day. But on Mondays, I wake up at 7 a.m. Why? Because I have yoga classes. So I'm comparing my sleep patterns here in this case. So that's why I wake up earliest is correct, not I wake up the earliest. Okay. Good answer. Very good. Thank you. Let's continue. Deepika, go ahead. Read the next one.
Yes, sir. Why are you wearing such clothes? Go put on something new. Oldest.
Why oldest? There's no comparison. Kuch compare nahi kar rahe ho aap. There's no comparison. There's no superlative. Simple base form. Read it again.
Why are you wearing such old clothes? Go put on something new.
Exactly. पुराने कपड़े क्यों पहन रहे हो? कुछ नया पहनो. So there's no comparison here. You are just asking the person why the person is wearing old clothes. So here there is no comparison or superlative here. Okay. So the base form of the adjective is fine in this sentence.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ajmol, go ahead. Read the next one.
Yes, sir. Have you heard the latest news? First one is right.
Very good. New you can use when you talk about products. When you talk about news, always use latest. Why? Because here, why? What is the difference between latest and newest? Can someone tell me what is the difference between latest and newest?
Means latest, sir, whenever something launch new.
So
So
what are you referring to? Time. Time. Okay.
Yes, yes, sir.
Time. So latest news matlab abhi taza khabar, abhi ki khabar. Okay. So abhi latest and newest is
I don't know, sir, actually. Yes.
newest is something that didn't exist before. So you are talking about, let's say, a product like an iPhone. Okay. But in iPhone, you use the word latest because again, with time, it keeps coming. So something that, when something is related to a launch or something that is late in terms of time, your references in terms of time, you use the word latest. Okay. But something that is new basically means something that did not exist before. So ye naya variety hai, something that was either not existed or made or introduced or discovered recently, like for the first time. So for example, a brand new product means that that product did not exist before. So when when a company launches a completely new phone, you call it a new product. A brand new phone has been launched by the company, right? However, that same company comes up with a different model. You call it not a new phone, you call it the latest model. So that's the difference between new and latest. Got it? Anyone has any doubt? Some of you
Sir, thank
selected the second one possibly. So that's the difference. New is a new discovery, something that probably didn't exist before. Latest is when something existed, and in terms of time, a latest product or thing has been launched. Okay, so news also refer to the latest news. You don't want to hear something that happened yesterday. You're talking about today's news. So that's why latest news. Okay. These days, people tend to give news in, even in terms of future, something that has probably not even happened. Right. So that's the world that we live in because of social media. Okay. Deepak, go ahead. Read the next one. Next entire slide. Go ahead. Deepak, can you hear me? Harmeet, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Harmeet, please read the next slide, page 25.
Absolute adjectives. Take a look at these very short sentences. First, he is tall. Second, he is dead. The both contain adjectives, tall and dead. Tall can be used in comparative sentences. For example, he is taller than I am. Dead cannot be used in comparative sentences. For example, he is deader than I am. You are either dead or not. You cannot be dead, ER, or more dead than someone. Dead is therefore an example of an absolute adjective. Adjectives that cannot take a comparative or superlative, dead, est form. Another example of an absolute adjective is unique because it means one of a kind and therefore it cannot be more unique than something. It is either unique or it isn't. Similarly, perfect, essential, and healthy can also be termed as absolute adjectives.
Absolutely. Yes, that's correct. So absolute ka matlab kya hota hai? What is the meaning of the word absolute? Absolute adjectives means supreme adjective or infinite. So basically the meaning here is that when you talk about certain words, when you look at certain words, we are not capable of, either or those words you cannot compare or intensify or, make it more greater or more intense, because the word in itself is intense. So when I talk about the word dead means what? Someone who is not living, right? Someone who is dead means finished, right? So that cannot be intensified or compared. You cannot be either more dead or less dead, or, so that's not possible. Either you are dead or you are alive. That's it, right? There are only two things, either dead or alive. There is no comparative when you talk about being dead or alive. Okay, so that's why words like these, dead, words like finished, destroyed, okay, something can be, you can say that, you know, this is more destroyed than the other, but it doesn't make sense, you know, because the word itself, or like impossible, unacceptable, okay, perfect. Now, rather than saying he's more perfect than me or the other way around, the moment you say he is the perfect candidate, you don't hear someone saying he's the most perfect candidate or he is more perfect than someone else. We don't say that. Competent, yes, he's more competent than the other one. He's the most competent candidate is fine. But perfect is a word which indicates, again, absolute degree. You don't say he's more perfect. Perfect meaning itself, you are stating that this word cannot be compared because he's perfect for this job. So then again, you cannot use the comparative or the superlative. So any word, any adjective that is not capable of being intensified or compared, you can call it an adjective which shows absolute degree. The other words would possibly be free. Okay, something that is given free or someone who is free cannot be more free or less free, okay, or most free. No, it's not possible, because free itself means that you're not bound.
Sir, is born an absolute adjective? Born.
Yes, yes, it's correct. It is absolutely right. Born is considered as an absolute adjective because you cannot be either more born or less born, right? You're born or you're not born, simple. So born is absolute adjective. You can consider that. Correct.
Sir, is it
Okay.
the opposite of, is it the opposite of dead?
Born alive, dead alive.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, there are other words. I'll see if I acceptable, unacceptable. Okay, acceptable, unacceptable. Then could be other words like okay, but give me a minute. Okay, the other words possibly can be, in this case, I don't know, maybe unique. Okay, unique. Again, another word comes to my mind. Unique. Okay, unique. What is the meaning of the word unique?
Special.
Something that is
Or
distinct.
outstanding.
Yeah. So rather than saying this is more unique than that, this is a unique product. It's understood that when you say unique means, unique itself means that what it is unlike anything else. So in essence, the word means what? You are comparing that particular product with all other products, right? So in itself is an absolute word, absolute adjective. Why? Because yes, we do say this is the most unique thing, most unique character, but it's not needed. This is the unique thing. This is the unique aspect of our town, for example, the city or the town. Okay. The moment I say this is the unique aspect of our town means what? What is the meaning of the sentence?
This is a special feature.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the distinctive feature of our particular town. So I don't need to say this is the most unique aspect of our town. This is the unique aspect of our town means this is what makes us stand out. This is a special feature compared to all other features in the town. So again, unique can be considered as a word of absolute degree. Okay. So there are words like these where you just understand the fact that, this showcases something which is absolute. The examples given on this particular slide here are what? Yeah, unique is given here. In fact, unique.
Sir,
then
for unique, more unique, most unique, wrong, sir.
I would consider it not needed because it's absolute. You don't say this is more unique than the other. Because the moment you say unique means that you are stating that this is different compared to everything else. This is a unique book on physics. Why do I need to say this book is more unique than other books or this is the most unique book? Not needed. The moment I say this is a unique book on physics means that it is different compared or distinct compared to distinctive or is special compared to all other books on physics. You got it? That's why you don't need more and most in this case.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Similarly, healthy, perfect. Yeah, given an example. Essential. Essential का मतलब ये होता है कि बहुत ज़रूरत. Healthy again is an absolute form because it's not more healthy, less. Although Healthy, healthier, healthiest is the right form of the three comparatives, but healthy can be considered as an absolute degree. So it depends on your context. What are you stating? Okay. Anyone who's just joined? Okay. Shima, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Shima, go ahead. Read the next slide.
Yeah. Dinosaurs are. Second one is correct. Extinct. Dinosaurs are extinct.
Dinosaurs are extinct. Yes, absolutely. Extinct, something that doesn't exist. Jo khatam ho gaya hai, right? Something that is vanished or no longer existing. Okay. So here again, extinct is what? It's an absolute adjective. You don't say something is more. This is like dead. Okay, this is like dead. You don't say dinosaurs are the most extinct. No, or more extinct. They are extinct. That's it. The word that we discussed, healthy, as I mentioned, you can use healthier and healthiest if you use it in a particular way to compare. But if you're simply using it for one person, that can be considered as an absolute adjective. So he's a healthy person. You don't need to say more healthy or the most healthy unless you're comparing with someone else. Healthy itself indicates the fact that it's a absolute adjective. Similarly, extinct here is similar to dead. It cannot be more or most extinct. It's either extinct or alive or existing. Okay. Okay. Shima, go ahead, read the last one. We are at the end of the topic.
Yes, sir. I am going to buy the. First one is right. I am going to buy the latest phone.
Yeah, it's the latest. Latest itself is the superlative in this case. So I'm going to buy the latest phone. Don't want the existing one. I want the latest phone. What about words like, let's say, harsh, H-A-R-S? What is the comparative and superlative of harsh?
Harsh.
More harsh, most harsh.
Okay. Anyone else? If you've answered once, allow others to answer. If you've answered once, allow others to answer. Okay. So that I'm able to hear. Harsh, guys, what is the comparative and superlative of harsh?
Harsh means, sir?
Harsh.
कठोर.
Yes.
Harshest.
Harder.
Hard कहाँ से आ गया? मैं harsh पूछ रहा हूँ, guys. The word is different.
More,
Harsh means कठोर. Yes. Someone who is.
more harsh, sir. Most harsh.
No.
Sir, it is absolute.
No.
Sir, I think it's remain same. Harsh.
Harsher and harsher.
This is
Very
absolute
good.
adjective, sir.